This is the best game of all time. I love this game. Game of the year, game of the century, game of the millennium. This game is peak. There is no other game like it. One of a Now that I've said what I needed to say, hello everyone. Welcome back to another video. Today, I will be talking about probably my most anticipated game of 2024, Mario and Luigi Brothership. I am absolutely stoked to talk about this game. This is pretty obvious, but there will most likely be spoilers in this video. So if you don't want any spoilers, you best just leave now. If you couldn't tell from the first 5 seconds of the video, you can probably already tell how I feel about this game. Mario and Luigi is a series that I hold very dear to my heart. I have played every single Mario and Luigi game, and I love every single game in the series. Yes, even this one. I will defend this game from the haters, but that is another video for another day. So, when I heard that Alpha Dream, the company that makes these games, went bankrupt, I got incredibly depressed, as that meant that there's going to be no more Mario and Luigi games. And that sucks a lot. But a miracle happened. June 18th, 2024, at 4 in the morning, Nintendo started their direct off with a new Mario and Luigi game. Brothership. I was absolutely stunned seeing a new Mario and Luigi game being announced. And then, flash forward to November 7th, when I picked up the game on that Thursday afternoon. After about 2.5 weeks, I finished Brothership and did just about everything that I could have possibly done in the game. After doing everything, what did I think of the game? I'm going to be straight honest. Brothership is absolutely 100% one of the best games in the entire series. Brothership does just about everything right in every aspect. There are very little problems with the game. It would be quicker to list all the things that I had a problem with than what the games did well. The story starts out with Mario and Luigi and basically everybody in the Mushroom Kingdom getting sent to Concordia, another world that has been split apart and is just a bunch of tiny floating islands. The end goal for Mario and Luigi is basically to reconnect the islands and stop the threat at hand. The story is really simple at first, but then it gets into some pretty in-depth stuff later in the story. I quite enjoyed the story. One of the problems that I had was that the story went really slow in the beginning, but in my opinion, it isn't as bad as people say. Like, yeah, I can definitely understand why people don't really like this that much, but I thought it was fine. My only real big complaint is that it takes a little bit too long to get the first bros attacks. Going back to the story, I actually think it's pretty good. It's one of the better stories from this series, and I actually got hyped up from watching a bunch of the scenes that happen throughout the game. From the point where Mario and Luigi get to the second lighthouse is where the story starts picking up a lot. Now, you may be wondering, second lighthouse? That's like halfway through the game, right? It takes that long for the story to get going? Wrong! The second lighthouse may be a tiny bit later than some people were expecting, but there's just so much story to this game. There were several points in this game where I thought, oh yeah, I'm at the end of the game. And then only to be told, nah bro, you got like 3 more dungeons after this shit. The story for this game is honestly pretty long, and it's honestly one of the story's strongest points. The game took me over 60 hours to complete. 60 hours. This game is longer than every single Mario and Luigi game that came before. I could beat Bowser's Inside Story twice and Superstar Saga once and still not have enough hours combined in total for Brothership. Is that a bad thing? Absolutely not. This is a great thing. I always love when they make games longer and longer, so I honestly welcome it with open arms. It gives time for more characters to get fleshed out and actually give them more personality instead of just being a one-dimensional character with the same 2 text boxes throughout the entire game. Speaking of characters, the characters they introduced in Brothership are great. There is so much variety and basically no character is the same. It ranges from a group of children who just want to protect all of Concordia, a lovey-dovey couple from 2 opposing sides, and 3 goofballs of villains. Probably the most standout character is also probably the most important character in the game, besides Mario and Luigi. Yeah, I'm talking about Connie. Connie is honestly one of my favorite characters in this game, and the amount of development she goes through in this game is nice, and I love every single second that she's on screen. She's tasked with helping the Unitree grow, and the Unitree is basically the thing that's keeping Concordia whole. Imagine being tasked with protecting probably the most important thing in your world. If I was her, I'd probably crumble from the stress. But she kept going because of the support of Mario and Luigi and the people of Concordia. Connie's the best. Another pretty important character I should probably talk about is Snoutlet. Snoutlet is basically the companion character for this game, replacing Starlo. Starlo is still in the game, but she's just chilling with Peach now, so we've got Snoutlet to help us out. Personally, I would prefer Starlo. Yes, I am a Starlo fan. People are way too mean to her, I swear to God. Snoutlet does a good job at not being annoying as fuck, so he's already a pretty good companion. I had no problem with him, and after all this time, I even grew to like him a little bit more than I did before. There's this thing that Snoutlet can do, but they only waited until the very end of the game to decide to pull it out. Like, bro, what the fuck? We could have used that like the entire time, but you waited for the last 15 minutes of the game to use it. Luckily, the game decided to put on some banger music while it was happening. Speaking of music, let's talk about it. The music is super fucking good. Like, really, really good. I really like the music in this game. Ever since the first Mario and Luigi game, the composer has always been Yoko Shimomura. If you don't know her, she's pretty much one of the best composers in the game industry. She has made soundtracks for several fan favorite games, like every single Kingdom Hearts game. She made some tracks for Final Fantasy 15, and she even made some tracks for Xenoblade 1. Unfortunately, Yoko did not return to do the score for Brothership. However, that does not mean that the score suffered at all. The composer for Brothership is Hideki Sakamoto. Some other games he was a composer for were for Yakuza 2 and 3, and most notably, he was one of the composers for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky. If the composer of the Explorer games was in charge of making music for Brothership, you already know it's going to be a great soundtrack. Some of the most popular tracks that I've seen people talk about is the Ship Island, the main island, the main battle theme, and Twisty Island. All of these themes are pretty damn good, but there are other themes that I haven't heard people talk about that much, like Heat Freeze Island, Floral Island, All Sand Island, and the boss theme. I believe that there is not a single bad track in this game. Every track is great at capturing the vibe of the island or even the situation at hand. I had a blast just listening to the various tracks in the game. I've constantly had the boss theme on loop for like the past 2 weeks. Out of all of the tracks, the boss theme is probably my favorite one. In terms of comparing the music to other games in the series, I firmly believe that this game's soundtrack is on par with Yoko's tracks. There's a lot of differences, but it sounds like Hideki took Yoko's way of making music and putting his spin on it, and it sounds great. Hell, I even think that some of Brothership's music is better than some of Yoko's tracks. Hideki did a great job, and if he was the composer for the next game, I would gladly welcome it with open arms. I saved talking about the gameplay for last, because there is so much to talk about, and it is honestly probably going to be the longest part of the video. The gameplay is absolutely amazing. This is absolutely the best feeling game to date. The battles feel so fluid and are great to navigate and just pretty to look at. What I always try to do for every single playthrough of Mario and Luigi, no matter the game, is to defeat every single enemy I see, no matter the level. At times, it gets a little boring after a while, but I basically never felt bored battling, ever. I never felt bored because the mechanics that the game gives us freshen up the basic battle mechanics so much that you can just possibly cannot feel bored. Of course, there's the basic combat moves like jump, hammer, and then the bros attacks, but the new mechanic for Brothership is the battle plug system. The battle plug system adds so much more layers to the combat. It ranges from a plug that can drop an iron ball on an enemy after attacking it, or giving you a shield which reduces you to damage, or a plug that just lets you straight up survive fatal attacks, or even a plug that just outright heals you after a couple of turns. The only downside of battle plugs is that they all have a pretty long cooldown after you use one up, but even then, there are battle plugs that can just reduce the cooldown of your other battle plugs. The battle plugs are honestly a really good system, and it actually isn't as overpowered as people say that they are. A very important thing about Mario and Luigi games is, of course, Mario and Luigi themselves. Something that Brothership does better than any game in the series is just showing how close the brothers actually are. While yes, there's games like Dream Team, Brothership is honestly on a whole nother level when it comes to just showing how close they are. They reflected it even in the gameplay. Even the basic attacks, like jump and hammer, now take both brothers in order to perform them. Like the jump. Like with jump, Mario jumps on the enemy and then bounces off Luigi in order to do a second stomp on the enemy. Brothership does an excellent job of showing just how in sync the brothers are. Now that I've talked about basically everything that I wanted to talk about, how do I feel about Brothership? How does the game compare to the other games? The answer to that is that Brothership is undoubtedly one of the best games in this series. Bowser's Inside Story is one of my favorite games of all time, and is, without a doubt, the best game in the series. I personally believe that Brothership is basically on par with Bowser's Inside Story. For me, I think that Bowser's Inside Story is still the best game in the series, but damn, Brothership has gotten so close that it's actually insane. I personally rate Mario and Luigi Brothership a 9.5 out of 10. And that's the video. I hope that you all enjoyed the video, and I hope that you all enjoyed Brothership just as much as I did. Let me know down in the comments what you personally liked about Brothership. As for me, I'm going to go and replay every single Mario and Luigi game again. I'll see you guys in the next one.